Please join me in the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. All right. So I would like to introduce our main speaker tonight, who's one of my favorite alumni speakers. Come on up, Manny. Come take the mic. Let's give Manny a big round of applause. Do you want me to bring it way down for your height?
That's crazy. All right, my name is Manny and I'm an alcoholic. I'm also an addict and everything in between. So let me see what it was like for me. When it comes to drinking and using drugs, I'm a late bloomer. I didn't start till like very late in life. I was like 22 years old. But let me just share with you like how that happened though, like how that came about. My mom and my dad, they were mean alcoholics, and then my dad on the side, of course, doing his little thing, selling drugs, being like the biggest drug dealer around or whatever. So he had his little party favors, and then my mom started using with him, and then he gets deported. It's not his first time getting deported, but like when I was 12 years old, he got deported and got sent to Mexico, and he told us straight up, he's like, you know what, I'm not going back no more. That's it. If you guys want to come live with me, you guys can, and that's like a whole different lifestyle over there in Mexico. So I didn't want to go, of course, So having my dad taken out of my life, that was which was like the structure for me, right? And without that structure, I was like a little chicken with his head cut off. I just didn't know what to do, and I was just doing whatever I wanted, Didn't want to listen to my grandma, didn't want to listen to my mom, and started running the streets, and little by little, I found myself running with the wrong crowd, and then getting myself in trouble. Now I'm on probation. I'm at 12 years old on probation, and going to like the little continuation school, just like literally surrounding myself with just the wrong crowd, But I was little. I was enjoying myself. I was doing whatever I wanted. Fast forward, I started getting arrested, going in and out of juvenile hall, and even going to camp. Between those times, like my little crowd was like I was a mixture of a crowd. I like to kick with the skaters, and I like to kick with people that kicked it in the block, and so I always found myself drinking, but at that time, I was drinking, and I'd start spinning, I wouldn't know, that was where alcohol took me. So I really didn't like it that much, I was the guy that was throwing up, but I just did it because everybody else was doing it, so I was doing that for a while, and then, come to when, so now I'm, let's fast forward, and I'm 19 now, about 18, I was able to figure out a way how to graduate high school, and I thought since I graduated high school, I'm good, I thought I was okay, right? So I went back to I was on the block, and started hanging out with the homies again, and started smoking weed with them, I thought I was I'm doing good, so I started smoking weed, started drinking with them. Still wasn't touching anything else though, because when I was a little kid, I always heard that if you started doing drugs, you could get hooked on one hit, and you could even die off the first time, so that scared the shit out of me, and I just didn't want to touch drugs. And so that kept me away from drugs, but and then I met somebody at around 18, 19, I met somebody, and then we ended up having a kid together, and then I was trying to make it work, my little family, right? And I was trying to make that little family work, because then I wanted to work way better than it was how I was when I was growing up, my mom and my dad, they were always fighting, they were always getting into it with each other, and it was just pretty chaotic, it was always something going on, and I didn't want to do that for my kid, but I tried my best, me and her would drink, on the weekends and stuff like that. I still smoked my weed, and but like her drinking would get out of control, my drinking would get out of control, and we end up fighting. Like pretty much, it sounds just like it just sounds like just like what my mom and my dad used to do, right? And it like it came to the point where like it was just too much, and she ended up leaving me. She ended up leaving me. She took my son, and I thought that was like the end of my world. Like my world's over now. And I have nothing to live for anymore. Because that's everything I wanted right there. And since that happened, like so I got a little domestic and I went to jail, and then I came out and I tried to be straight, right? Like I wasn't gonna drink because I already knew I couldn't control it. And but I found myself hanging around with my friends still, like, and I was still smoking weed, but I was like not drinking, right? And then came the point where I was introduced to my first drug, like like, well, not my first drug, but like not introduced, but like the girl I was kicking it with was smoking dope, and like I said, like I felt like I had nothing to live for, right? Because like I lived at my grandma's house again, and my baby mama lives like literally on the next block over, and she's having dudes over and shit, and with my son over there, and I'm just like I had no way to like cope or anything, and so I was like, you know what? Let me see what that's all about, right? Let me see what this little rock is all about, and I hit it, and worst thing I ever did in my life. Like I couldn't put that pipe down, and what that did for me was like it made my alcoholism go like full throttle, like now I could drink as much as I wanted, not get hangover, not get like literally I didn't get the spins anymore, and I was not throwing up, like I could drink as much as I want, as long as I smoke some dope, and now it went hand in hand, like I would smoke dope, I would drink. If I'm drinking, I'm smoking dope, and that was just it for me. It took me on a big old cycle, right? Like a big old, it was just the worst thing ever, now I'm going in and out of jail, right? I'm doing anything and everything to get another hit. I'm doing things that I never thought I was going to be doing. And like, let me see, like going in and out of jail. Now I'm trying anything and everything that comes my way. I'm still at my grandma's house, but I'm like in and out of the house, and like and I have no structure. I have nothing to keep me under control, and that was my big problem. Like like it's not having no structure. Like every time I go somewhere, I can like follow follow whatever set rules that I'm supposed to follow. It's cool, but when I'm left on my own, like I don't know what the fuck I don't know what to do, So now I'm going. So this was like in 2011. That's when I started getting high and shit, and started drinking, and it's been going like that for like a good. It was like that for a good few years, I tried to. Every time I went to jail, I tried to come out and I tried to do the next, but like the right thing, right? Like I would get sober. I'll go to jail, get sober, and I'll come out. I'm like, I'm not gonna drink no more. I'm not gonna smoke dope no more. I know it's gonna lead me, right? And I come out and I'm doing good for the first 2 months, for the first 2 weeks, maybe a month the most. Then I'm just right back to where I started. It's because I get bored, and that's like a big old trigger for me is when I'm bored. I'm bored and I'm in the same neighborhood where I grew up. Like, it's a matter of time where I'm just gonna go back to what I'm used to doing. So like after going in and out of jail, like I was able to. Like in 2019, I hit a point where, I committed a crime where they were gonna give me a little bit of time, like the most time I ever was looking at, and then they gave me an opportunity, and they were like, like, well, look, you're always getting high, you're always getting caught with drugs, you're always getting caught drunk under the influence, and we think that you have a problem, would you take a program, and I hopped on it, right? Like from doing a couple years to do a year in a program, I was like, shoot it, so I did the year in a program, and when I was in this program, right, it was in Watts. This is my first program. Like I did pretty good. It's because like I had structure, right? I did whatever I needed to do. I followed the rules, and they're like, if you do this in this amount of time, you can start working, you know, and save your money, you know. And so like literally like in 3 months I had a, like, you know, I started working, I had a job, you know. Between this time, you know, I had 2 more kids with somebody else, and like, so like on my weekends I'll go try to be, you know, like the dad I'm supposed to be, right, you know. And go hang out with them, you know. And but like what I didn't do to keep that was other than follow the rules at the program, like I didn't do anything to help my program, my not my program like with the drug program, but my program like with AA or NA or NEA, you know. I just I was just running on self will. There you go. I was just running on self will. It was just like I didn't care about no meetings. What a meeting was for me was just to fill in time and get a court card signed. That's it. You know, just to prove that I'm doing something that I'm supposed to be doing, right? But as soon as that meeting was over, I was right out the door. You know, like I didn't get no phone numbers. I didn't connect with nobody. I was just there. I was just filling in space. You know, what my main thing, what kept me like, you know, like somewhat sober or whatever, you know, at that time was the gyms. You know, like I would go to work and then I would go to the gym, and then like I would fit in a meeting in like in between there just to get my court card signed. And then COVID-19 happened, and they closed the gyms, you know. So like that was my lifeline right there. And then they started closing down the meetings, you know. Like you couldn't even go to meetings. You had to go on Zoom meetings, you know. And I couldn't do no Zoom meetings. That just wasn't for me, you know. I tried, but I couldn't do it. Like not in. I guess the biggest part about it is because like I didn't even do meetings in the first place. So when I went to a Zoom meeting, it's just like I was just filling in time. So I thought I just would throw all my time into work, right? So I just would work, and then I would I would do like a side job, like Postmates and stuff like that. And little by little, I found myself back to my friend's house. I was kicking it with the homies again, and for the first part, I wasn't doing anything, but it's like what they say, you know, if you continue to go to the barbershop, you're gonna end up getting a haircut. And I kept on going to the homie's house. He was drinking already, and then he started smoking some weed. And then like little by little, I was just like, you know, let me take a sip of that, you know. And then one thing leads to another, and then I'm back to where I started, you know. A big downfall for me is when you throw in a female in the mix, it jumps everything up for me. We went to go, like, you know, me and my friend, you know, he wanted to go pick up, and then, like, you know, I found out he was picking up from this girl, and, you know, I thought it was a bright idea, you know what, I'm gonna get high today, you know. And, you know, so in 2020, like I started getting high, and then literally the following day after I started smoking, the following day I went to the liquor store and I bought a gallon of vodka, and literally I was right where I left off, like no breaks, you know. Like I picked up a gallon and I killed that gallon like literally by the middle of the day, you know. Like now I killed it all by myself, you know. Like this disease is crazy, you know. It wants to kill me, you know, and I'll do anything to do that, you know. Like so, like now I'm back running around, right? And I'm out there for about like a good 2 years, you know. I'm doing the same old thing, you know, like doing anything I can to get some more. This time my disease really took a turn, right? It took me to places that I didn't think I was gonna be going to, you know. Like I started sleeping on the beach. The only reason why I slept on the beach so I can just take a shower in the morning before people got there, is because, like, you know, I was doing the thing, like I was like kicking it in the areas where like you know all the motels be at, you know. And you know I have some friends, you know, thinking that, oh, I could go shower with them, you know, but like they never opened that door, you know. And so I was like, you know what, instead of like trying to figure out how I'm gonna do this, you know, I just went to the beach and that's how I showered, you know. If I was around the city, you know, like I would just shower and I would go to the park and I would just shower in the bathrooms, you know, like just fill up a little bucket of water and I'll just shower in the bathrooms. I found myself at train tracks kicking it with people over there. Found myself in the riverbed and found myself, you know, like kicking it with people over there. Like all the people that I thought I would never kick it with, those were my people now, you know. Like I'm sitting at the people with the tents. That's my go-to. You know, if I went home, like if I ever went to my grandma's house, cause like she never closed the doors on me, so I had somewhere to go, but I just did not want to go there, cause I'd rather be getting high and I'd rather be drinking. You know, and I didn't want to hear nothing that she had to say. You know, like she would always tell me like you need to get right, you need to get better, you have kids, you know, like they need their father in their life, and really and truly, like I just thought that I was a piece of shit and that I didn't deserve anything but whatever I'm leading my life to. You know, like that's what I was. You know, there was no going back for me. Like you know, like I'm nobody. You know, and I can't get saved. You know, so that's what I felt. Um, but my higher power has a different story for me though, you know, and like you know like and I didn't believe it until I started like you know like really actually like listening to my higher power, you know. um so that brings me to how I came to Fred Brown, right? um After running the streets for a while, I finally get arrested, and I got arrested for GTA. You know, everyone in jail, of course, those jailhouse lawyers are telling me I'm looking at 16 and a half, or 2 years, whatever. Honestly, like, I just knew that I just needed to get off the streets, right? You know, because like me getting off the street is it might not like it's gonna lower my use. It might not stop it, because like as soon as I went to jail, like I get bunked up with a person making pruno. So I'm like, and he's just like, "Do you want to drink?" I was like, "Fuck yeah, I want to drink," you know. So like it didn't stop, you know. And then I got turned on to Suboxone, you know, and that's all bad, you know, because they're like, if you really love Suboxone, you'll love heroin, dog. And I'm just like, don't tell me that, you know. So like I'm like I'm glad it never got to that point, you know. Like my name got called, you know. They gave me another program, you know, and they didn't give me no 16.5. They gave me a program, you know. Thank God, you know. And I was waiting for the program to come pick me up. It took them like 2 months, you know, but I get picked up, and I come over here to Fred Brown. So I have a sobriety date 11/28/2022. Thank you. I really appreciate that. It takes a lot to keep that date, and I want to keep that date. So I do anything I can to keep that, you know, because it's all I have, really, you know. So like when I got to Fred Brown, I did everything I didn't do the first time I was in my program, right? My treatment program. Like I listen to everything I was said, you know, in the meetings, in the groups, whatever, you know. Like, so when I went to the meetings that they take you here, like Point Furman and all that, like I did exactly what I didn't do the first time. Like I got fucking phone numbers, you know, and I made use of those phone numbers. I started connecting with people, like even if it's just a little casual conversation, you know, like getting somebody's name, you know, and then little by building on that, you know. So that's exactly what I did. When I was in my first one, all I cared about was getting a job and then getting back to what I was losing out on, right? Because I thought I was far behind, right? I thought I was missing something, you know, like I was missing a car, I was missing money, I was missing a bank account, you know. But like that was the last thing on my mind right now. Like the only thing that I cared about was like building a foundation, and that was my main thing. I knew if I built the foundation, then I can get everything else, you know. So that's exactly what I shot for, you know. So I did whatever I had to do with like in treatment, you know. Like I did all the, like, you know, the autobiography. I did whatever I had to, you know. Like I do pretty well under structure, like I've told you guys, you know. Like without structure, I'm like a little chicken with his head cut off, you know. But with structure, I do really good, you know. But it's what I do when nobody's looking. That's what really matters, you know. And I really like, I try my best to keep that, you know. It's because like everybody could look good in a meeting, you know, and talk really good game, you know. But it's like when you're like by yourself in your own little room at a sober living or whatever, or when you're walking down the street and nobody's around, like nobody's gonna see you walk into that bar, you know. Nobody's gonna see you walk into the liquor store and grab something, you know. It's all on you, you know. And it's how bad do you, and it's like you gotta ask yourself, how bad do you really want it, you know. Like how bad do you really want to stay sober, or how bad do you really want your old lifestyle back? Because you can go get it if you wanted it, you know. It's not hard, you know. This is pretty hard, you know, but I think it's way easier than running the streets, you know. Like I wasted a lot of energy out there, you know. I don't want to do that no more. when I had to get a sponsor, Nancy helped me out. She's very resourceful, and I've had the same sponsor since then. I don't know if you guys know him. His name's Yuri. He came through this program too, and I've been working the steps with him. I did the steps, but I still do whatever I can so I can continue to have this. It's because you have to keep on working at it so you can work for you. And he's taught me a lot. Like he really pushed me to go get those phone numbers that I needed to get, and he pushed me to make the phone calls so I could connect to people. I would tell him, like, what the fuck do I tell these people? I don't know them, And he's like, just call them and tell them how long you've been sober. Where do you live? What you're doing today? What are you planning on doing tomorrow? Like, just start with small things. Now people are asking me about my kids, how's school going, and everything like that. So like, let me show you with you guys what I'm doing today. What I'm doing today. So it took me about 18. So it took me, I would say, so after I did the program and I did sober living, like the whole time I was just like building my foundation in sober living. Like I wasn't like in a rush to get a job. Like I was just trying to build a foundation. Like the only kind of work I was doing while I was in sober living, I was volunteering. I was volunteering at the animal shelter, just to do something, so filling my time, like kind of like being of service, my sponsor would say, and then little by little, like once I got out of here, I went back home, and I knew I couldn't be there because it's the same environment. My uncle still gets high, and I already knew if I stuck around, I'm gonna start getting high again. So I got a little job at a agency, and then working with them for like a month, I was able to save enough money, and I found another sober living. And I had to pay out of pocket, but you can't put a price out of like at a peace of mind, like I really don't have to worry about anything like coming into the house that's not supposed to belong there. I'm around like-minded people, just like myself, that wants to stay clean, sober, and then wants to do something better for themselves, So like after I was out there and I was working for a while, it took me about 18 months to like actually feel like I can do a lot more for myself, like I built a foundation now. I have my meetings. I have a sponsor, I work my steps, and I make phone calls, I talk to other addicts and alcoholics, so I figured I could do a lot more than just stay clean now, right? So I enrolled into college, and I never thought I was gonna go to college, never, and I just, they were all trying to drill me like, oh, you could take 4 classes, you could take all these classes, but like I already know how it is when I get overwhelmed. Like when I get very overwhelmed, I like to give up, like fuck it, this is too much for me, I'm not gonna do it. And what do I go to when I get overwhelmed? I go to the bottle so I can just forget about everything, and then once I start drinking, I already know I'm gonna start smoking dope, and it's opening a whole can of worms all over again. So like I really put what I learned in the program, I put it in real life, you hear it all the time. It says take it easy, one step at a time, and that's exactly what I do at school now, so I just took one class, and then it was doable, so now and then I took 2 classes, and then from 2 classes, like I'm getting straight A's in all my classes, I got 4.0 in all of them, now other than and then when I started feeling that that part of my life is getting like a little busy, I felt myself not being more into the program, so I started going to the H&I little committee meetings, and I picked up some panels. I got 2 panels now. I got 2 panels. I got a commitment at one of my meetings, and then I go to like 2 or 3 other meetings regularly, right? Because I already know, like I hear it all the time. Once you stop going to meetings, you're like in a danger zone. I hear that all the time from people that always go out. Like what happened? And first thing I hear is like I stopped going to meetings. So like if I don't stop going to meetings, then I have a less chance of going out, right? So I just stay involved, I stay in the middle of the herd, like they say, once you stay in the middle of the herd, it's harder for you to get picked off because you're in the middle, right? Like I do anything I can, like when it comes to like AA, like I do anything I can. Like I went to if you guys ever been to a convention, if you guys haven't, I would suggest you go, it's fun, Like I went to my first convention last year at South Bay Roundup. Now I'm volunteering at the South Bay Roundup this year, like I do whatever I can for my program, and I do for whatever I can for my sobriety, and it's fun stuff that we do here, like I'm gonna be on the paddleboard meeting all day long, in Redondo Beach. That's right, right? So like it's not boring, you know. It's only boring if you want it to be boring, you know. And if it is boring for you, then you might need to go find some people not to make it boring, you know, like because it's not boring, you know. This is way better than what it was running the streets, you know. Like I don't have to worry about nothing no more. Like I have quality problems today, you know. Like I I have rent to pay, you know. I have 2 jobs, you know, and then I have all my AA stuff in it, and I'm still comfortable. I'm relaxed, you know. Like I have nothing to worry about really, you know. I have 3 kids that I'm working on relationships with, and one of them spends the night at my house every other weekend or so, you know. And he buys me gifts, like, you know, like, and it's just like, and it's crazy what he buys me, you know. Like he bought me a shirt the other day saying working on my dad bod with pizza slices on it, you know, like, you know, like, and I never had that before with my son, you know. He's 16 now, and he didn't want nothing to do with me because he already knew, like, if he asked about me, like, it's either I'm in the garage, you know, I'm asleep, or I'm not even there, you know, or I'm in jail, you know, like, and then he's like, what do you do this time, you know, like, that's what he was used to. Like my life is just like really good now, you know, and I don't know what to say about it, you know. Like I'm running short here, you know, like, but like I said, like, you know, for me, what works for me is I just take it very easily. I don't overwhelm myself with a bunch of stuff, and I just remember that my program is not your program. Like whatever you got, I don't have to have it right now, but what I do a lot is I believe in my higher power a lot. Like I give my higher power 100% control over my life. It's because I know without doing that, like, left to myself, like, you know, like I'm a fucking crash, you know, like. So I literally learned how to just let go of the wheel, you know, and just let my higher power just drive, you know, like. And he hasn't steered me in the wrong way, right? Like he hasn't, you know, like every time, like one major thing that happened like not that long ago was I lost my job, right? I was working at Amazon, and my van got jacked, you know, and they took some packages, and then of course, you know, the following day, you know, they're like, we gotta let you go, you know. So like I have to pay rent. I have, like, you know, I have nothing saved, you know, like, because everything goes to rent, you know, like in little bills. And my sponsor always reminds me too, because he trips out on it too, because he's just like, you lost your job, dog, and like you're not worried about it, you're not phased, you know, like. And I'm just like, well, it's because I know my higher power is gonna take care of me, you know, like. And as long as I believe that my higher power is gonna take care of me, then everything's gonna be fine. Why am I gonna have to worry about it, you know? Like I let tomorrow worry about itself, and then today I just know that I'm sober today. I'm not gonna run to the bottle. I got a meeting that I gotta get to, and that's all I'm gonna do, you know. Like, and I'm gonna go to bed sober, and I'm gonna wake up sober, and then I'll just deal with tomorrow, you know. Like, and then what did my higher power do? Like my higher power got me a job on campus, so I go to school and then I work on campus, you know. And then like I was looking at, like, you know, then I was like getting a little backed up on rent, and what ended up happening, I found out about a program that paid my rent from the school, and they paid up to $3,000 in my rent. Nice. You know, so like, and then this is all, it's just because I didn't worry about nothing, you know. I just knew that my higher power is gonna take care of me, and I always believe that, and I'm never gonna stop believing that, because he hasn't, you know. Like I think of it as a puzzle, like, you know, like every time I try to put a puzzle piece, it never fits, right? But if you let your higher power put the puzzle piece in, it'll always fucking fit, you know. So that's what I do, and I hold on to my seat very tight, and I hope you guys got something out of it. Thank you.